To play some easy chords on your guitar, download some chord diagrams from beatharvest.com and then place your fingers on the neck in the locations indicated by the little dots on the diagrams. And then wiggle your fingers around so you can get a nice clear tone. Stay tuned to find out more. This is Adam from beatharvest.com and I'm going to show you how to play some easy chords on your guitar. So when you start playing on a lot of instruments, you start off playing single notes. And then later on you progress to playing multiple notes at the same time in a chord. But on guitar we often start with chords for a couple of reasons. Firstly, it's quite easy to play full chords on a guitar just by strumming. And also this is a really good way to quickly get to a point where you can play something on a guitar that really sounds like music. If you can strum some open chords and sing with your guitar, you're playing music, and that's pretty easy to do. So what we're going to do today is learn how to read chord diagrams so you can memorize some different chords, and I'm going to give you some tips on playing those chords to make them sound nice and clear. So first of all, let's talk about reading chord diagrams. A chord diagram is really just like a little map of the top of the guitar. And then on that map you can see marked the locations where you're going to put your first, second, third or fourth fingers. Perhaps an easier way to understand this is if you take that diagram and move it on its side, you can see how that matches up with the neck of the guitar. And then on that grid, you can see for this E chord, I'm going to put my first finger on the G string on the first fret, my second finger on the A string on the second fret, and my third finger on the D string on the second fret. And there I have an E major chord. So I'm going to take you through 4 chords right now, and they're going to be G, D, E minor, and C. And the reason I'm going to be using those chords is because they're all in the same family, and that chord sequence actually gets used a lot in different kinds of music, so it's a helpful group of chords to know. So let's start with the G chord. For this one, I'm going to take my first finger and put it on the second fret on the A string. I'm going to take my second finger and put it on the third fret on the low E string, and I'm going to take my third finger and put it on the third fret on the high E string. And that one's a little bit of a reach, but once you got them on there it should sound like this. Next we're going to do a D chord. So for this one I'm going to take my first finger on the second fret on the G string. I'm going to take my second finger on the second fret on the top E string, and my third finger is going to be on the third fret on the B string. Now you'll see on this diagram there are some X's at the top of the diagram next to the E string and the A string. And what that's all about is it's telling me not to play these strings when I play a D chord. Because if I do, it sounds a little bit muddy. I don't really want these notes in the chord. So when I strum it, I just start at the D string and it sounds a lot clearer. The next chord we're going to play is E minor, and minor is just a slightly different form of a chord. What you need to know right now is they sound kind of melancholy compared to the E major. But E minor is a chord that works really well with G and D and C. E minor is really easy to play. I'm going to take my second finger, put it on the second fret on the A string, and I'm going to take my third finger and put it on the second fret on the D string. And there's my E minor. Now you'll see at the top of the diagram for E minor there are some O's next to some of the strings, and that just means that those strings are played open. We don't put any fingers on those strings, but we let them ring out. Okay, and the last chord we're going to play is C major. For this I'm going to take my first finger and put it on the first fret of the B string. I'm going to take my second finger and put it on the second fret of the D string, and I'm going to put my third finger on the third fret on the A string. Now you can see from the diagram that I've got 2 open strings in C, the G string and the E string, And I've got an X by the low E string because I want to avoid playing that string. So when you play it all together, it should sound like this. Okay, so let's talk about how we get these chords sounding nice and clear. There's a few things you can do to help with this. The first is trim your fingernails. If you have long nails like I have on my picking hand, the nails actually hit the fretboard before your finger does, and it means that you won't be able to put enough pressure down on the string to make it ring out. So keep those nails nice and short on the hand that you use for fretting your chords. The next thing is you want to press down quite firmly on the strings. Sometimes people get dead notes like this and they think it's because they're pressing too hard, but actually it's because they're not pressing hard enough. So it hurts a little bit at first until you develop calluses on the end of your fingers, but it doesn't take too long to develop calluses. So press down nice and firmly with your fingers. The next thing to do is to try to get your fingers close to the fret. So if I'm in this G chord, I'm putting my second finger on the 3rd fret on this low E string. If I put my finger back here at the back of the fret, I have to press down quite hard to stop that string from buzzing. If I get my finger up close to the 3rd fret, I get a nice clear note and I don't have to press down as hard. The last thing is to make sure that the fingers that you're using for fretting are not muting any of the other strings. You want your fingers to be coming up very straight out of the fretboard, almost like trees growing up out of the frets. So when you strum the guitar, the notes are ringing out clearly and you don't have muted notes because your fingers are touching them. So the best way to get your fingers in the perfect place is to get them close to the frets and then just wiggle them around a little bit and move the position of your hand while you're strumming until you get that nice clear tone. And then have a look at your hand and try to remember what you did to make it sound nice and clear like that. So practice playing some chords, get them nice and clear and memorize those shapes. And what we'll do next time is talk about changing between chords and how to do that quickly and smoothly. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please click subscribe and go to beatharvest.com for more music education tools. I'll see you next time.